This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, I'm going to show you guys more information about watermelon and if you should juice watermelon or not. I know there's a lot of videos out there, people going on a watermelon diet for 30 days or juicing only watermelon or going on a watermelon juice fast and all these things. And in this episode, I'm going to show you guys what all those other influencers aren't going to show you guys. And this is based on the science, guys. And to let you guys know who I am, my name is John Kohler, and I started my business Discount Juicers over 25 years ago now. I started eating a fruit and vegetable based diet 30 years ago now, and I've been juicing for 30 years now. And more importantly, I've been selling and educating people about the different appliances that allow you to process your fruits and vegetables in the best ways possible. Not only do I compare different machines such as juicers against each other on this channel, and I'm considered the #1 juicer expert in the world, I also have more information-packed episodes about the juicing science and how to get the most nutrition and, more importantly, most health benefit into you. It's quite sad to me that out there in social media world, people just basically repeat the dogma, right? And everybody's saying things and sometimes they're not accurate. That being said, what I like to do is actually look up the science. And this episode is based around the science so that you guys can have the maximum benefit from the watermelon as well as other fruits if that's what you're into. So without further ado, let's jump right into the science. We're gonna throw up this first study here on the screen. It's entitled Watermelon as a Potential Fruit Snack, all right? And we'll read part of the abstract. Watermelon contains phytochemicals such as lycopene, vitamin C, beta-carotene, and total polyphenol content that possesses anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and antioxidant properties. Dietary intake of these products with antioxidant properties is important in maintaining human health and well-being. These reduces incidence of chronic diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, cancer, and some coronary heart diseases through inhibiting formation of free radicals and reactive oxygen species. So basically they're saying, yes, watermelon is a health food, but they go on even further. So let's learn more. And we'll read another part of this study. Bailey et al. Found that supplementation with watermelon juice improves aspects of vascular health in individuals with hypertension. Presence of vitamins make watermelon to be helpful in supporting normal vision and skin health, maintaining cholesterol, supporting normal appetite and nervous system function, and may be involved in normal muscle contraction. Then furthermore, it goes on to say, watermelon juice and pulp contains considerable amounts of fiber and carbohydrates. Fiber plays a significant role in blood cholesterol, which helps in the prevention of large bowel disease, while carbohydrates are the source of energy for the cells. Yes, so even watermelon juice can have benefits, but is watermelon better than eating the whole watermelon alone, or even what I would say vacuum blending? Well, let's continue on in the study. And it says here, watermelon pomace, which basically, to remind you guys, watermelon pomace is basically the pulp that comes out. It's like when they juice watermelons industrially, they're left with the pomace, which is, for the industry, a waste product. The pomace or pulp has been analyzed, and it says watermelon pomace is reported to be a concentrated source of lycopene as compared to the juice, right? O'Burley and Soggy found watermelon pomace to be 20 to 24 milligrams per 100 grams of the lycopene. So what does that tell you? That's telling you guys that when you juice watermelon, yes, you are getting some lycopene in the juice, but you're throwing away a good percentage of the lycopene content in the pulp because now you're juicing it, right? And so based on that, I came up with this graph, which we're going to throw up on the screen for you guys. And this is entitled Nutrient Retention Whole Watermelon Blended versus the Juice. So on the lycopene, if you eat the watermelon whole, which is what actually I would recommend because that keeps the food matrix in the most undisturbed state as possible, or even if you vacuum blend it, we're not talking about traditional blending, we're talking about vacuum blending where you suck the oxygen out. I'll explain that more in a little bit. you're basically going to get 100% of the lycopene if you eat it or if you vacuum blend it. Because when you juice it, you're not eating the pulp that comes out, and that can contain 30% of the lycopene. What does this mean to you? This means to you that you'll likely get less health benefits. Of course, 70% is a lot better than 0 lycopene when you drink a soda, but why not do yourself better by just eating the watermelon or vacuum blending it? All right, up next is vitamin C. Even in blending, you will lose some vitamin C content, but in juicing, you'll lose even more. And once again, when you juice, you're gonna lose most of the fiber. There's very little fiber left in the juice, and when you blend it, you're gonna keep all the fiber. It doesn't go anywhere. When you vacuum blend the watermelon, you're gonna keep 90% of the polyphenols, and some of the polyphenols are gonna be lost once again in the pulp because they are bound to the cellular structure of the fibers that come out. And on the antioxidants, right, you can have more antioxidants if you vacuum blend the watermelon than if you juice it. Because once again, if that pulp is red and has a deep color to it, right, there's nutrients in there. So unless maybe you want to eat this and then drink that, then you're still going to get 100%. That being said, you know, with some other published studies I want to show you guys, I'm going to show you guys why maybe juicing watermelon is not necessarily the best idea. And I'll show you guys what I recommend you guys do instead. Next study we're going to go over, we'll throw it on the screen right there, is influence of multiple environmental factors on the quality and flavor of watermelon juice. And it says environmental factors, heat, pH, oxygen, light can induce significant quality changes in watermelon juice during processing. And then furthermore, it goes on to say heat and oxygen and illumination had considerable effects on the color of watermelon juice, and the results were visible. So basically they're saying that, you know, heat can impact watermelon juice as well as oxygen and pH. Luckily, watermelon is in a good pH range, so if you don't make it too acid or too alkaline, the pH that it comes out of the juicer or out of your blender is perfect. That being said, you don't want to put extra light on it. That can degrade some nutrients, and you don't want to oxygenate it, which is what traditional blending does. So let's go ahead and throw up the graph based on the study data, which is entitled Nutrient and Aroma Compound Loss in Watermelon Juice from Oxygen Exposure. So this is the estimated reduction due to oxygen exposure percentage. So, you know, you will lose certain, basically, plant phytochemicals such as geranicytone, which gives it the fruity notes, by 35% when you have oxygen exposure. That's why it's important to do the vacuum blending to remove the oxygen. You will remove the B-ilanine, which gives it a floral note, right? If you ever notice when you blend like watermelon in a blender, like it doesn't really taste like that good. It doesn't have really a flavor because you're oxidizing those flavor notes due to the oxygen based on this study, right? That's why watermelon juice has a much better flavor. Also, of course, important to me, the lycopene, you're going to be reduced by 25% because of the oxygen. And once again, in a juicer such as the one I have here, which is the Hurom H70, my favorite juicer at this time because it literally takes me 1 minute to clean. It also does put more pulp or fiber in the juice, which you will learn in a second is a very good thing. You know, it does it at a low RPM, so it's not introducing lots of oxygen into the juice. Also, the Z6 non-enol, which gives it the watermelon aroma, that's why it smells like watermelon, is reduced by 60%, guys, when you oxygenate watermelon, whether you're doing that in a high-speed machine or whether you're doing that in a blender that whips in lots of air. And the 2 non-enol, which gives it the green notes, maybe makes it smell like a little bit like grass, right? 45% reduced when oxygen. And then the hexanol, which gives it the fresh aroma, as they describe it, is reduced 40%. So as you guys can see, right, I'm not making this stuff up. Published studies show that some of these flavor and smell compounds and nutrients literally go down because of the oxidation, right? If you eat the watermelon, you're going to have very minimal loss. But once again, you know, at a slow juicer, you're going to have little loss. A standard blender that's mixing a lot of oxygen, you're going to have losses similar to the chart. And of course, under vacuum blending, where you're removing maybe 60% of the oxygen before blending, you're going to have significantly less loss of these flavor notes, as well as olfactory notes and nutrient notes. All right. So the next up, we're going to go over this study. And once again here, I'm here, guys, to show you guys the best ways to improve your nutrition by using a different processing method, right? As you've seen so far, slow juicing is definitely better than high-speed juicing. Slow juicing is better than traditional blending, where you're blending in a lot of oxygen. Furthermore, most people, when they juice the watermelon, they just cut out the red flesh, and then they don't juice the rind, which is high in chlorophyll, and they don't juice that thick white part that kind of tastes like nothing right underneath the peel of the watermelon. So that's what this next study is about, and it is entitled Polyphenols and Flavonoid Contents of the Aqueous Extracts of Watermelon, Red, Fresh, and Peels. And it says, we're going to read the summary of the abstract. The results show that flavonoids are more concentrated in the red flesh, whereas the peels are the more rich in total polyphenols. Several studies show that consuming foods rich in polyphenols reduce the development of many pathologies. Man could thus consume in the same way that the flesh, the white part of the peels. All right, so let me go ahead and cut this watermelon open to show you guys what we are talking about here. All right, guys, so let's check out this watermelon, see what we got. All right, look at that. Nice watermelon right here. Coming right up. I smell the flavor notes. You ever cut open a watermelon and you're like, that smells like watermelon, not the artificial watermelon flavoring or smells that like candies have, but this smells like real watermelon. All right, guys, so what they're talking about here in this published study is, of course, most people eat the red part, and depending on how mature your watermelon is, it may have a thicker or thinner or little white area, right underneath the skin. The skin is green, of course, but then this white area is the white area they're discussing in this published study. And let's talk about this white area and how much more nutrition it actually does have. So we're going to throw up this graph from the study. And this graph is a total comparison of nutrients in the red versus white flesh of the watermelon. So you can see the total polyphenols in the red flesh was 74.3. But if we look at the white flesh, it was actually 63.3. So there's actually more polyphenols in the white flesh than the red flesh. For this reason, I recommend don't just juice the red flesh or vacuum blend the red flesh. Make sure you get all the white flesh as well. And while you're at it, if you do have an organic watermelon or you grew it yourself, I would also, juice or vacuum blend up the outer rind, right? If you are buying watermelons, even conventional watermelons, they are on the Clean 15 list. They sit at the 9th cleanest produce item across all produce items out there. Of course, some of the worst offenders are things like cherries, spinach, strawberries. Nonetheless, if you don't have an organic one, I would encourage you guys not to necessarily, process or use the outer coloring that may contain and have the pesticides on it. I would only recommend using the inside. So that's what I'll be doing today. And of course, this graph also shows the flavonoid content. So the flavonoid content of the red flesh is 2.028, which is much higher than the white flesh. But the goal was to show you the guys that the polyphenols, which are very important for us, are more concentrated in the white flesh than the red flesh. So use all parts of the watermelon, whether you're juicing it, vacuum blending it, or just eating it. All right, this last study, let's get right into it. This is a topic that I have discussed before on my channel, but we're going to dive deeper, show you guys some of the published studies and some of the research that's out there regarding different components of in this case, apples, but we could potentially apply that to watermelon as well as other fruits. Anyways, this published study is entitled, and I wish I could find one on watermelons and I wasn't able to. It says, the intake of whole apples or clear apple juice has contrasting effects on plasma lipids in healthy volunteers. And it says, In the abstract, the purpose: fruit consumption is associated with a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease in cohort studies and therefore endorsed by health authorities as part of the 5 or more a day campaigns. A glass of fruit juice is generally counted as 1 serving. Fruit may cause protection by affecting common risk factors of CVD. So in this study, they want to prove, okay, does fruit juice have the same benefits as the fruit, right? So let's find out what the conclusion says. So it says, conclusion: apples are rich in polyphenols and pectin, 2 potentially bioactive constituents. However, these constituents segregate differently during processing into juice products, and clear juice is free of pectin and other cell wall components. We conclude that the fiber component is necessary for the cholesterol-lowering effect of apples in healthy humans, and that clear apple juice may not be a suitable surrogate for the whole fruit in nutritional recommendations. So this is something I have often talked about. If you guys have heard me, I've talked about like putting juice and getting a nice clear juice that almost looks like water when you use one of those $2,000 expensive presses that grind up the produce. You put it in a press cloth and then it presses out the liquid. Even worse, if you just cut a pineapple open and put the pineapple without grinding it in the press cloth and press out all the liquid, you're literally pressing out the water. That water, my opinion, is very clear. It has very few, if any, of these cell wall components or fibers in there. And let's find out if that's better or healthier than a juice made in the Hurom 70, which for a slow juicer does generally put more pulp or fiber in the juice. So let's throw up these graphs, basically from the study data on apples. We're going to first look at the benefits to the humans that were tested when they ate certain amounts of these specific ingredients. So the humans that ate the whole apples had a reduction in the LDL-C. It went down. And you could see when they ate the apple pomace, which is basically the apple pulp, right, with the juice extracted, so they're getting even more fiber, right? More fiber meant even more reduction in their LDL-C. When they had a cloudy juice that was not filtered, that still had particulate in there, they still got a benefit and a reduction of the LDL-C. Not as much as eating the whole apples, and definitely not as much as eating the pulp alone. But then when they had that clear juice, thinking ultra filtered juice that's clear, right, that you could almost see through, right, that we all drank as children, that also probably was high in arsenic, right? Anyways, the LDL-C actually went up. It went the opposite direction. So we can't always say that fruit juices are healthy. As a matter of fact, I encourage you guys not to drink fruit juices. I recommend you guys eat your fruits whole or vacuum blend them, as I'll show you guys in a minute. Next, let's look at total cholesterol change, right? These are just 2 of the factors that they tested in this published study. When they ate whole apples, yes, their cholesterol did go down, likely because of the pectin. When they ate the pomace, which is the pulp, right, their cholesterol did go down, but interestingly enough, it didn't go down as much as eating the whole apples, because there's other properties in the apples. And if you guys are selecting apples to eat, I recommend selecting the apples that have the most skin area and the least amount of flesh area. I've been recently researching, like historical or, apples before they were hybridized, and they were small, right? And so they had a lot more skin area, they were tart, they weren't that sweet, right? Meanwhile, when you had a cloudy apple juice, you did also have a total cholesterol reduction, but a very minuscule one at that. So, if you're looking for a cholesterol reduction, it's still way better to eat whole apples. But once again, when you had that clear juice, the filtered juice, right, your cholesterol actually went up, right? Because maybe the fiber wasn't there, maybe because the more effect on your blood sugar and the excess sugar in the juice that just kind of gives you a good hit without kind of any buffering from the fiber. Next up, let's look at the factors behind why you potentially got the health benefits of the lower LDL-C and total cholesterol, which was the water-soluble pectin content. In the whole apples, the water-soluble pectin content, that's why apples, the apple juice will kind of like get a little bit sloshy or maybe even gelatinized in your fridge because of the soluble pectin. This happens also with grapefruit juice for me. Nonetheless, in whole apples, you have lots of pectin. When you have the pomace or the pulp, you have a good amount of pectin as well. And interestingly enough, the cloudy juice also had the pectin in it because once again, the key word there is soluble. The soluble means it dissolves in water. So even juice that's cloudy, that's not filtered, right, will have the pectin in it. Meanwhile, when you go to a clear juice that you're just squeezing through a press cloth that you can't see through, that's holding all that pectin back, and it can't go through the cloth or other methods that are traditionally used in industrial processes, you have very little water-soluble pectin in there, right? The juice will not separate into layers. So I know some companies out there say, oh, juice separation is bad. No, that's good in my opinion because that's showing you guys that there's different fractions and different particle sizes that can likely be things like soluble pectin as well as other nutrients that actually made it into your juice. Next up, we're going to go over the total polyphenol content, and of course, whole apples have the most total polyphenol content because you're not removing the fiber, you're not removing the juice, and it has the most. So just an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Eat your apples, guys. And if we just look at the apple pomace, which is the pulp, that actually has less polyphenols because a lot of that may have come out into the juice and or some is lost, of course, in the pomace. And of course, some may have been oxidized. Nonetheless, the cloudy juice had the second most amount of polyphenols. Once again, that's why I recommend a juicer like the Hurom H70 that will put more pulp in the juice because the screen system has these little cracks in it that allow some of the pulp and some more soluble fiber and insoluble fiber to get into your juice to give you guys those health benefits. And at the kicker at the end, then you only have a 1-minute cleaning. Why deal with a juicer that has these small little pinholes that get clogged up with pulp that you need to scrub down when you're done? Can take 4 to 5 minutes, and also it's reducing the amount of total polyphenols as well as pectin because now you're forcing that juice to get filtered out even more. And of course, the clear juice had less polyphenols than the cloudy juice. So next up, let's go ahead and take a look at some mechanisms where they tested these different products and reactions in the human body. So the next test is the FRAP test. This is basically an antioxidant test. And basically what we're looking at here is we want the higher number is better. So in the FRAP test, of course, the whole apples came out on top because they had the most amount of polyphenols. So they had the most antioxidant fighting capability. The pomace actually had the least antioxidant fighting capability because once again the polyphenols on the previous chart was the lowest. Of course, the cloudy juice still gave you some decent antioxidant activity because it is pretty high in polyphenol, second highest. And then of course the clear juice had negative antioxidant capability, so like maybe as good as a soda. So the goal is to once again eat your apples or get a cloudy juice with as much particulate in there if you guys want the health benefits. Of course, this study is done on apples, but I would also, unless otherwise seen, believe that this study data is generally good for other fruits because once again the fibers in other fruits can slow down the absorption of blood sugar, and the fibers in other fruits can also have benefits such as the pectin, even to regulate our microbiome that we're not discussing today. And then next up, we're looking at the GPX1 activity change. The GPX1 activity change is basically how it reacts and activates our enzymatic systems in our body for antioxidants, for like producing our own antioxidants. So what we want is we want the higher the better. So in this case, the whole apples were a little bit bad because they were actually going negative, but the pomace was the best. And is that likely because of, you got the sugar removed and it's actually better for you. Next up, or in third place, was a clouded juice, and of course the worst offender was once again the clear juice that had, in this case, a negative health benefit. So it'd be much better to eat the pulp alone. So that's like anti-juicing or reverse juicing, if you want to call it that. And then of course the apples are gonna, have minimal, if any, benefit, and the juice maybe not quite as much. So, clearly things on this published study are not cut and dry. Juice is always not better than eating them whole. Sometimes the pulp is good, sometimes the pulp isn't good. It depends on what metric is important to you. My general philosophy personally, from looking at many studies such as this one, is that we want to process our foods as minimal as possible. Now, please be aware, guys, in this episode I'm discussing specifically fruits, mostly watermelon as well as some other fruits such as apples. And, here's the thing, fruits are very easy to digest. Their fibers are very soft. They are designed so that people and humans and other creatures can eat them so that we can distribute the seeds. We can digest the fruit fibers very easily. And that's why I recommend either, if you are going to juice fruits, use a slow juicer such as the Hurom that does put some of the most fiber in your juice so you could keep that fiber so you could have more health benefits, or better yet, vacuum blend them, as I will demonstrate in a minute. And the thing is that when we're talking about vegetables, it's a little bit different story because vegetable nutrients are not quite as bioavailable as fruit nutrients. Think of a carrot. It's hard, it's dense, they even get woody when they get more ripe, and it's a lot harder for our body to extract nutrients out of those carrots. That's why literally rupturing the cell membranes through juicing can be of great benefit, and this is also proven in published studies where if you drink carrot juice, for example, you get a much higher levels of beta carotene in your blood in a significantly faster manner than just eating the raw carrots alone, where your beta carotene levels will stay low. So we can't just say, oh, because vacuum blending and eating fruits whole, that means juicing them is not as good, right? No, it's completely different because, once again, fibers on leafy greens are a lot more complex to break down. We don't have 3 stomachs like cows to break up wheatgrass. That's why it's good to juice wheatgrass as well as other green vegetables. So I just wanted to give you guys that caveat that we are discussing fruits today. And with that, let's discuss this last published study, which is entitled The Effects of Extraction Method and Antioxidant Properties of Carrot, Apple, and Blueberry Juices. So it says this study was performed to compare the vitamin A, E, beta-carotene, polyphenol content, and D, PPH radical scavenging activity of carrot, apple, and blueberry juices as affected by extraction method using a slow juicer. Actually, it was a Hurom juicer. No vacuum blending or traditional blending, and vacuum blending, such as we have here today. We'll go down to the summary. It says, the results of this study showed that vacuum blending method had outstanding antioxidative nutrients compared to other juicing methods. So let's go ahead and give you guys some graphs from this study. From the study data, you can see nutrient comparison in apple juice across processing methods, and the polyphenol content in slow juicing and traditional blending were pretty much the same, right? Under slow juicing, you're losing some of the polyphenols that come out in the pulp, but under traditional blending, you're losing the polyphenols due to the oxidative damage. Under vacuum blending, you're not losing those under oxidative damage, and you're not losing those because you're not ejecting the pulp. Next up, DPPH antioxidant activity. This is like how powerful is it to quelch the free radicals in you so that you could have nice skin, you could look younger, right? So slow juicing had more antioxidant potential, antioxidant activity, than traditional blending, because you're losing a lot of those antioxidants, because the antioxidants in the apple mixture has to basically deal with all the dissolved oxygen in the mixture. Meanwhile, vacuum blending had the most antioxidant activity to keep your skin nice and supple and to look younger longer, right? Next up, vitamin A, a very important nutrient for our skin, for sun protection, and many other things. And slow juicing and traditional blending with the oxygen, right, had the same amount of vitamin A. But then if we look at vacuum blending, it had about twice as much vitamin A, because once again, vitamin A is an oxygen-sensitive nutrient. Finally, beta-carotene, another oxygen-sensitive nutrient. Under slow juicing, had a bit less than traditional blending, But why do either of those when you do vacuum blending that kick butt over both of them and had over 50% more of the beta carotene? So guys, after reviewing all these studies, you know what I hope to teach you guys is basically this. And you can turn off this video now because the summary is eat your fruits whole, right? Including the white part, as many parts as possible, including the seeds. Chew up the seeds if you have a watermelon with seeds, right? If you don't want to eat it, which is the best way to do it in my opinion, so go on a watermelon, fast, eat your watermelon, don't juice it, right? Don't waste nutrients because you're throwing away nutrients in the pulp. If you do want to juice it, use a slow juicer such as the Hurom, right? H70, that basically takes a minute to clean, so you're not going to be dreading the cleaning at the end. It's also going to put the most pulp in your juice so that you could have the most benefit. That being said, the best even over slow juicing for fruits and watermelon is vacuum blending, as proven by the science, guys, right? We're keeping all the fiber. We're minimizing the loss of different olfactory compounds, of different nutrient compounds, the lycopene, of the different smells and flavor and taste compounds, right? And honestly, guys, the fibers in watermelon are so tender and so soft. When you vacuum blend them, it's almost like drinking a juice because they're broken down so well. And once again, we're doing it without oxygen. So the last part of this video is we're going to go ahead and juice half of this watermelon in the Hurom H70, and the other half we will vacuum blend in the Blendtec blender with the Void Systems lid that you can buy that fits any Blendtec wild side or forced side carafe. Alright guys, so first up, I have a special avocado kind of scooper thing. It's also called a fruit slicer, but you can just come in and just take off large sections of the watermelon, and then we can just go ahead and put it into the Hurom H70 hopper. Very important when you're juicing or processing your watermelon or even eating it, you want to get as much of the white part as possible. You guys can see I'm getting the white part in there. Very important, lots of polyphenols according to the study. All right, so we got a good portion of that watermelon carved out into the hopper of the Hurom H70. We're going to just simply shut the lid and turn that on. I really love that the Hurom 70, once you load it up, it'll work without you. It basically has a processing blade that will feed in the produce at the right rate. As you guys can see, the juice is coming out without me having to push each piece of the watermelon in. As you guys can see, the pulp of the watermelon is coming out. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and get working on the vacuum blended watermelon we're making with the Blendtec blender here, as well as the Void Systems lid that turns your Blendtec blender into a vacuum blender. The Blendtec lid with its accessory container can also turn your Vitamix into a vacuum blender as well. So once again, we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to go ahead and cut up pieces of this watermelon and throw it into the blender. Alright guys, so you guys can see what happened as I'm working to get the watermelon into the blender. The juicer already finished, so we can go ahead and turn off the juicer, and literally I took this much watermelon, filled up the hopper of the Hurom H70, and it literally made 1 quart of juice. And the cool thing about this is that, look at this juice, guys. This is like dark, deep red. You're not going to get this colored juice when you put the watermelon into a high-speed juicer, because it, once again, bombards it with air. High-speed juicers are the worst way, in my opinion. You guys can juice watermelon as well as other fruits and vegetables. So you guys can see now we have the juice here. Next up, we need to get vacuum blending. So to do that, we just need this special Void System lid, which will turn on. We'll go ahead and drop this onto the blender. As we push this down, I lift this little red tab up. This allows me to push this down more easily to make a good seal, and then to make sure that it's totally sealed and I don't have any kind of pieces of watermelon in there. The next thing I'll need to do is turn it on, which it is already on. We're just going to simply press the go button. As you guys can hear, 2 powerful pumps come on, and what's happening is this lid is literally sucking out the excess oxygen out of the carafe. When I tested this carafe, it pulls out about 62% of the oxygen. As you guys can see, The number on the screen is increasing. It should get to somewhere between 16 to 18 before that number will not increase anymore, telling you that the vacuum lid has maxed out. My unit is set to stop at 18. Of course, your results may vary on your lid depending on your elevation. You know, if you're more at sea level, the number is going to be higher, and if you're at a higher elevation, like think Denver, the number will not go as high. So we're just going to go ahead and let this run and suck out the excess oxygen out of this blender carafe. Alright, so in this case it looks like the blender carafe is at 16, and that's where it will stop today. The next step is, you can see this blender carafe is more concave because it's literally sucked in. Now we're just going to go ahead and simply blend as we normally would in the Blend Tech blender here. So I'm going to just go ahead and pulse it to get it to blend up real quick, to get everything to drop in. Alright, so you guys can see in no time this was blended up. Super simple, super easy. Now the most amazing thing is, you can see that maybe there's a little bit of air bubbles in there, but what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and release the vacuum and let the air back into the carafe. And I want you guys to look closely at what happens to this inside here. Once again, comparing it to the juice. As you guys can see, it got a little bit deeper and richer. So as I'm lifting up on this red tab, I'm also lifting up this lid at the same time so you can easily lift it off. And now we're going to go ahead and pour our vacuum blended watermelon into the mason jar. As you guys can tell, it's not quite as dark as the juice, but it's pretty doggone dark. Once again, you know, this is concentrated because we are removing some of the insoluble fiber. We did leave some of the soluble fiber in there and also put a little bit of the insoluble fiber in there. And over on this juice, we just blended the whole mixture up. Which is healthier? Well, we learned from the published studies that this is healthier because, once again, you can see all the particulate in there. That is a good thing. We have the particulate filtered out of this. Of course, if you have some kind of health situation, such as you can't deal with fiber, such as colitis or Crohn's, then maybe this would be better for you. Otherwise, for general health, I would always say vacuum blending your fruits, or once again, eating them whole, is the best way to go. So, so next up, let's go ahead and taste test both of these juices. So once again, this is the pure juice coming right out. And this is the vacuum blended watermelon. I won't call it a juice because it has the fiber. You guys can see when I pour it, it's a little bit more thick and rich. This is a lot more thin. So first up, I'll taste the watermelon juice. I mean, watermelon juice is definitely good for sure. I do taste small amounts of like bits in there. Once again, the Hurom shining through. Due to its unique filtering system, allows more pulp in the juice for more health benefit. Definitely good. It does taste sweeter to me because, once again, we remove some of the fiber and that increases the flavor dominance of the flavors you're getting because there's less fiber to buffer. All right, next up, the complete watermelon just vacuum blended. Yeah, I mean, that definitely has more of like a nectar feel. Like when I was a kid, I got this Kern's nectar, like guava nectar, like juices. It's definitely a lot more thick, guys. And I would say that this is the healthier way to go for sure. To me, this texture is not objectionable. It's quite good. I really like it, actually. And of course, this is the way you're going to get the most health benefits from your watermelon juice. And this is something that nobody on YouTube has ever told you. They're going to say, oh yeah, the watermelon juice, it's the best. And I'm going to tell you guys, the truly best is vacuum blending your fruits, including all the fiber, so you guys can get all the benefits from the fiber, as well as maintaining higher levels of polyphenols than juice, when yes, there are some nutrients that are still coming out with the pulp. As you guys can see, we're losing lycopene because this clearly is red. All right, So I mean, that's pretty much it for this episode. I really want to just shed some light on the whole watermelon juice story and how to maximize your nutrition by, once again, using the best equipment. You guys want to get the Hurom H70, which is the best juicer to juice your fruits because it does put more pulp in the juice, and also it takes literally 1 minute to clean. That'll save you guys 60% more time than other hopper style juicers. Links down below where you guys can see where I prove this, where I juice carrots actually. You guys could use a coupon code MOFIBER, MOFIBER at Hurom.com. That'll save you guys a minimum of 10% off the Hurom H70. So you guys get the juicer that I use at home that will put the most pulp in your juice for a slow hopper style juicer, and also give it you guys the easiest cleaning. That being said, even easier to clean than the Hurom H70 is the vacuum blender, because literally I just gotta rinse this pitcher off, rinse this lid off, and I'm done cleaning. So cleaning is easier in the vacuum blender. Of course, also as proven by the published studies, you're also maintaining higher levels of the things like polyphenols, significantly higher levels of the fiber, and in my opinion, and based on some of the studies, more health benefits because you're getting literally the whole fruit. Nothing but the fruit. The only thing that has changed over eating it, which I would recommend even over vacuum blending it, is the food matrix, which has been, riled up because we have vacuum blended it now. If you guys want to buy the Void Systems kit to turn your BlendTech blender into a vacuum blender, you want to make sure you guys use a coupon code DJ25 at void-system.com. That'll save you guys $25 off the Void Systems lid so that you could transform your BlendTech into a vacuum blender. If you have a Vitamix, you could buy the kit for the Vitamix. And once again, the DJ25 will save you guys $25 off your purchase of that kit as well. Now, when you guys use those coupon codes, not only will you get the lowest price on those specific items, also when you guys use those coupon codes, the companies will share me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys, so I can spend my time looking at published studies and sharing with you guys this information, as well as buying my produce and paying my amazing video editor so she can edit these videos and get them up for you guys so that I can make a difference in the world. So I want to thank you guys who have used my coupon codes in the past or will use them in the future instead of other coupon codes. And trust me guys, I always recommend the best appliances for your specific tasks so that you guys can get the most health benefit. That's why I got into juicing, blending, and now vacuum blending for my health, to turn my health around. And I know many of you guys are also on this journey. That's why I'm so passionate about this subject, and I have more videos on this channel than anybody else about juicers and other ways to process your fruits and vegetables in the best ways possible. So if you guys enjoyed this episode learning all about watermelon juice today, make sure you guys press the thumbs up button, and more importantly, share this with other people that are on watermelon juice fast, or want to juice watermelon, or want to learn the truth if watermelon juice or blended watermelon under vacuum is the best. And clearly published studies show vacuum blending is the best for your health. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. I come in every 5 to 7 days. You never know what new studies I'll be sharing with you guys, what new juicer comparisons, or what new vacuum blenders I'll be demonstrating, so you guys can enhance your health through using the best processing equipment in your kitchen. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to you guys all about the different methods to process your fruits and vegetables and select the right appliance for you. I'll put links down below to some of my favorite videos I've made in the past with the Hurom H70, as well as with the vacuum systems lid by Void, so you guys can start vacuum blending today in your BlendTech or Vitamix. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.